Hello everyone and welcome to No for GCSE's After School live streams. We are back yet again trying to keep you all productive, and guess what? We have speaking exams just around the corner. So what this video is going to be is a bit of a reminder of the structure of the exam and some hints and preparing tips, but I am going to be releasing a video which you can now see on the screen, how to ace the speaking exam, which, let me just give you a bit of a hint here, is what it begins with. So I definitely recommend you watching that. That will be coming out soon, and I'll also be doing a Spanish one for those of you who take Spanish, because I know you've been heavily requesting it. But let's start by just looking at the basic outline of the French exam. Now, we can split the French exam from something that has 10 to 12 minutes worth of content. Now, let's look in detail at this. So we first have the role play. Now, the role play is the first task, and in this role play task, this is the most basic simple task, and it's in the foundation. Now we're going to be going over the higher structure if that's important as well. So the role play, this is going to last 2 to 2.5 minutes long. Now, just remember, everything will be recorded, and you will also see a stopwatch. Now, it depends whether your school allows you to see the stopwatch or it doesn't, to prevent stress. That's up to you to find out. Now, this section is 10 marks worth, and you can prepare it in the 12 minutes. So on these 4 different sections, you have a little bit of preparation time before you walk into the exam. Prep time. Now, within this little prep time, what you need to do is focus on preparing for the role play, the picture-based task, and finally, that's it actually, the role play and the picture base. You're not allowed to prepare for the general conversation, because just before you enter the general conversation, these things will be taken away from you. So let's look at the role play. So the role play is 2 to 2.5 minutes. It's 10 marks, and as I said, you can prepare for it within the 12 minutes. Now, this will only be on themes 1 to 4. Now, you know that you have 5 themes, so the fact that this is only on 1 to 4 tells you that you don't have to prepare any role play for theme 5. Now, in terms of what you're going to be asked for in the role play, it's very basic and very simple. What it will just be 5 really easy questions, and they will just require you to have a very simple response. So let's look at them now. So your first bullet point, or any 2 of your bullet points, will just be straightforward answers. So they would ask you a question and you would answer. For example, what room number are you staying in? So they'll give you a context. First you have the context. For example, you're staying in a hotel, and then the first 2 can just be questions. So the first one can be, what room number are you in? And then you just say whatever room number. So it's very straightforward. So we then have, after the 2 straightforward points, you then have 2 things that will be marked with a question mark. Now this means that you need to ask a question. If you're doing higher, then you'll be asking 2 questions. If you're doing foundation, you'll be asking 1 question. Now, in terms of this question, it can be anything simple from what time, how many, how long, whatever the context is. So if it's, for example, hotels, you can ask how many rooms are there in the hotel, for example, something like that. Or if you were unsure how to formulate a question, I am going to be going over that in the French speaking video that will be released soon. But you can just use intonation. So for example, tu aimes le maths? Now this just means, do you like maths? But you can also, if you have a question mark and if you have intonation, then it sounds like a question. Tu aimes le maths? This is a question, and this is really useful, and I would definitely recommend, if you are unable to think of a question in terms of when you're using your prep time, then definitely just use intonation, and you will not be marked down if you use this over any other way. So we've got our two straightforward points. We've got our two questions. What's the last thing? Well, the very last thing, let's look at it now. It is an exclamation mark. What does that mean? So the exclamation mark is the unpredictable question here. Now don't get worried. This isn't where it gets hard. The unpredictable question will again be something basic, simple, and you'll be able to answer it instantly. You would have had practice on this and things like this. Now, a tip here, this unpredictable question, so far in every single exam, has always been in the past tense. Now, note, they don't explicitly say that it will be in the past tense, but every single exam since this speaking exam started has been in the past tense. So maybe on your preparation sheet, write something down in past tense that you could be asked about. Now that's enough of roleplay. Roleplay is a very simple one. Let's move on to what comes next, which is the picture-based task. Now this a lot of people find difficult, but it definitely is not as difficult as the general conversation. So let's talk about the picture task. Now if I just show you the board here, you can see that it's 1 minute presentation and then it's a general conversation. So we've looked at role play, we're now looking at the picture-based task. So in terms of the picture-based task, what will happen is within your 12 minutes that you have during your prep time, you will be handed a photo. Now this photo will be about one of the 4 themes, and it will not be the same one as role play, and it will not be the same one as a general conversation. So you know that the photo is in process of elimination before you even enter the exam. It's definitely not going to be the thing that you chose to do your 1 minute presentation about. So not the same theme of your 1 minute presentation. So for example, if you chose the theme of school for your 1 minute presentation, and if you don't know what the 1 minute presentation is, I'll talk about that in a second. But if you chose the theme of school, then you know that it will be, which is theme number 3, I believe, then you know that the photo will not be about school. It will be about 1, 2, 4, or 5. So by process of elimination, you can do some preparation and see which one the photo could be. Now, you're going to be asked 5 questions in this section. And of these 5 questions, within the 12-minute preparation time, you can prepare for 4 of these questions. So question 1 to 4 that you can prepare for. Now, question 1 will be a photo description. So a description of this picture. Now, this is supposed to be the longest response in terms of this picture task. So you have question 1, 2, 3, 4. Ask you to describe the photo. It will always be the same, even if you're doing Spanish, always describe the photo. Now, this description of the photo requires you to mention some key aspects here. Because it has to be the longest response out of all of these other 4 different statements, you need to ensure that you know what you're going to talk about before you even enter the exam. Now, you may be like, how do you know? Because you haven't even seen the photo, but you need to think about certain criteria. And now I'm going to give you a little hint as to things you should be thinking about. So think about the people, or sometimes if it's a photo without people, then the subject. Talk about the people, how many people there are they standing, are they sitting? So another thing is their position. Are they standing, sitting? Another thing is their action. What are they doing? Now, in the French video that I'm going to be posting, I'm actually going to be posting phrases for each of these sections. So don't worry, this video will definitely come out by tomorrow. And probably this evening at the latest, and it will have all the key information. But people, positions, action. Another thing is the mood. Does it look happy? Does it look sad? As well. So here are just some tips or things to mention. Now, as I said, you have your 12-minute presentation, your 12-minute preparation. A key thing about your prep time, you must remember this, is that for your prep time, you must not write in full sentences. Now, you may be like, how will they know? Well, what happens is, after you are finished with the paper, they take it in and they send two of them to the exam board. And if you've written in full sentences, then your whole GCSE is revoked. So do not write in full sentences, write in bullet points and make this explicit. I'll go further into this in the video as I discussed. So yeah, the first one, describing the photo. We've looked at that now. Now, the second one is something, and what will happen is it gives their opinion about the photo. For example, if the photo was about the environment, the teacher could say, I think it's really important to take care of the environment. And then that would then prompt you to firstly respond to this opinion. And then secondly, you need to so respond to this and then give your own opinions. Okay, so that's what the teacher opinion question will be. Now I'll go through this more in depth. An example of responding to the opinion will be Je comprends votre point de vue, mais je ne suis pas d'accord. Or Je comprends votre point de vue, mais je suis pas d'accord. And then you can also say, in terms of different opinions, à mon avis, pour moi, je pense que, all of those things as your own opinion. So that's your first point, and that's your second point. Now let's look at the third point. The third point is the narration of the past event. One second, sorry. Sorry about that. So we have the narration of the past event, which is the question 3. Now, this one, will always be a past question, and it will be related to the theme again. So what you need to do is you need to, in preparation for this, list out every single past tense and I did a whole video on different tenses and things like that. So list out every past tense to use in this question so that they're just ticking it off as you go. Okay, so things like perfect tense, imperfect, pluperfect, past participle. Again, we'll be looking at that in the video soon. Now, number 4 is a reference to a future event. Now, this future event reference will be the opposite of the past event. So the past event, you were trying to think of all of the past tenses, and now you're going to be thinking about all of the future tenses, like the near future, the simple future, the conditional tense, and try to include some more fancy grammar in there as well. And then finally, we have question 5. This again is the unexpected question. So you will not know what this is, and this will be relating to the broader theme. We haven't been given any information as to whether this is past tense, present, or future, so you just need to be really attentive to what the examiner is saying, or your teacher, what tense they're speaking in. And those are the picture tasks. Now finally, well, not finally, you just have your 1-minute presentation before we move on to the general conversation. So your 1-minute presentation will be a 1 minute, or up to 1 minute as it specifies on the exam board, up to 1 minute speech about the theme that you have chosen. So whatever theme you have chosen for your 1-minute presentation or for your presentation, what you'll do is you have this speech. Now the best thing is to actually have a memorized piece of writing, which has an impeccable amount of tenses, fancy grammar, all. I'm going to be good grade 9 example in the video coming up, so just stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's what the 1-minute presentation is, so I'll give you some more advice on that. Just in terms of word count, if you wanted to see how many words make up 1 minute, it's 150 words, roughly. But do note that French is a fast language, so you may be able to squeeze a bit more in there. Now, finally, your general conversation. General conversation, the thing that people fear the most. So just before this, your teacher or whoever's doing your exam will take away your paper. And this paper is a thing that you've been doing your preparation time on, all your notes. Take it away. And then what happens is your teacher will be given roughly 8-ish questions. And you have, I believe it is 3.5 minutes. Let me just double check this 1 second. Yes, you have, so anywhere between 3.5 minutes to 4.5 minutes to answer them. So through this, you can do a bit of maths and just work out how long your responses should be in each of the questions. Now, the aim here, in order to get the highest marks, the exam board says you need to develop your ideas as far as possible and not run out of responses. Also include fancy grammar. So let's talk about the mark breakdown. You first start off. So for the general conversation, it's 36 marks. It's the highest marked thing. So you have it split into 12 marks, 12 marks, and 12 marks. So the first 12 marks is on your communication. How well are you conveying the message? Now, a really good tip here is, I know you're going to be nervous in the exam, but you need to emphasize and you need to be confident, because whether you like it or not, you can gain up to 6 marks, which is a lot in this case, just by being confident and pretending that it is your native language. Now, so this is really important. So confidence is definitely a thing that people don't practice, and it can give you an edge over the other candidates. Now, the next one is spontaneity. Now, spontaneity doesn't mean you can't prepare your responses in advance. It just means the way you conduct yourself is as if it's spontaneous, because obviously you're definitely going to get the most marks in this area because you don't have paper, so you're forced to be spontaneous. But things that will restrict you in terms of this band is if you have loads of pauses, if you start speaking English, for example, and not necessarily mistakes, just if you're pausing and breaking the flow of your dialogue. Now, the final 12 marks. This is for linguistic knowledge and accuracy. So this is where the tense mistakes come in now. In order to get 4 marks, 36 out of 36, believe you need to just give off the impression that you're saying everything correctly. B, try not to stumble and pause too much. And C, show your linguistic knowledge. Show that you can speak in a range of tenses. If they ask you a question in present tense, mention the past, mention the future. Now, in order to just pass, you need to at least mention the present, past, and future overall within your 3.5 minutes. So that's just to pass. But I'm going to be giving you some specialized tips in my next video, and it won't be a live stream, it'll be an actual video, which will help you a bit more with this content. Now, that is all of the live stream. It's a very short one today, just going over a couple of things. I am going to be doing a video, as I've said repeatedly, called How to Ace the Speaking Exam, and it will have in-depth content on the roleplay, picture-based 1-minute presentation, and general conversation, because I know not all of your schools are really helpful. I remember my school wasn't really helpful, and because there's no resources on YouTube, I hope that I can really help for you. So if you really want this, then feel free to tell me in the chat. But again, thank you for watching, and this video will be coming out soon. See you soon.